Welcome back to Hardball. Anti-tax crusader Grover Norquist has been called the most powerful man in Washington, but is his influence on the wane? To listen to a growing chorus of Republican lawmakers, Norquist and his strict no new tax pledge is out of step with the current mandate to strike some kind of a deal on the fiscal cliff. Let's watch.
I'm not obligated on the pledge. I made Tennesseans aware. I was just elected that the only thing I'm honoring is the oath that I take when I serve, when I'm sworn in this January.
When you're $16 trillion in debt, the only pledge we should be making to each other is to avoid becoming Greece, and Republicans should put revenue on the table. I will violate the pledge, long story short, for the good of the country, only if Democrats will do entitlement reform.
A pledge you signed 20 years ago, 18 years ago, is for that Congress. For instance, if I were in Congress in 1941, I would have signed a supported declaration of war against Japan. I'm not going to attack Japan today. The world has changed.
Well, that's a hell of a comparison. Anyway, this morning, Norquist responded. Let's listen.
They all said that 2 years ago when we were arguing over the debt ceiling limit. So their position hasn't changed. And during the debt ceiling limit, we cut spending. We didn't raise taxes. So other Republicans did not listen to Peter King or these others.
And this guy's a political loan shark. Anyway, the majority of Americans want to see tax rates go up on the rich. But will Norquist convince enough Republicans that it's better to dig in their heels than to reach a compromise? Tom Coburn is the Republican senator from Oklahoma, and Joe Klein is a columnist for Time. Gentlemen, thank you. Mr. Coburn, Senator Coburn, I don't want to abuse your presence. I honor it. My children, by the way, think you're the greatest. So let's talk about this. I have a couple kids, one who worked on the debt commission and another one who just loves you for some reason. So let's find out why. It seems to me, if you look at the numbers, just arithmetic here, right now the government is taking in 15.7% of the GDP in the current fiscal year and spending 22.9% of the GDP. Common sense tells us if we're going to get to 20, it seems like getting maybe to 20, maybe some liberals want a bit more, conservatives want a bit less. You got to come in both directions. Your thoughts?
Well, I agree. The problem, Chris, is we haven't had long-term thinkers in Congress for a long time. And if you really look at it, the last 30 years, we've lived off the next 30, and the bills do. I think the question is any combination that gets us out of the problem and onto a road of recovering our economy and recovering the future for our kids is a good combination. But the point has to be is there's no question we can have the rich pay more, but that won't solve our problem.
I agree.
And with that comes negatives. The real problem is you got an entitlement system that's out of whack, and the demographics are exaggerating that, and you've had discretionary spending increases. You know, the budget of this country this year is twice what it was 11 years ago. And a good portion of that is discretionary. Some of it, $100 billion a year, is the war, but the rest of the government has grown. So we have to do both, and we have to make sure that whatever we do does not hurt us, but gets us on the way to recovery.
Let me go to Joe Klein on the politics of this. My contention is, unless the liberal caucus led by Nancy Pelosi, the huge majority of Democrats who are hardcore liberals, unless they see teeth marks in the neck of Eric Cantor and Boehner, unless they see the president has really gone in there and raised taxes on the rich, done something significant, maybe not the 39.6, but something that clearly bothers those people, she ain't getting nothing. She's not giving anything from her end. You've got to be tough on the tax front if you're going to get any action really among entitlement people. Your thoughts?
Well,
that's my view.
I think that that's true, although I think that what you're going to have here is a centrist coalition where the Republicans in the House are going to drop their Tea Party supporters, and the Democrats may have to drop some of their more extreme, you know, the people who think that we should have...
Does that get you 218?
Does
that get you 218?
Of course. Boehner could have gotten there if he had been willing to drop the Tea Party 2 years ago. I think that you'll see a small uptick in marginal rates. But you're going to see haggling. You know, this is the return of politics. And by the way, you've been saying there's only one House Republican who's for this. You know, Pete King just said it, but Scott Rigel from Virginia took a very courageous stand last year and defied Grover Norquist. And there are others. I mean, Cantor is wavering now, and I think that the handwriting's on the wall.
Is this going to have to come through the leadership, this deal on revenues, to basically challenge Nordquist and the rigidity here, Senator? Or can it be done around the edges where you have 100 votes from both sides of the aisle in the House and 50-some votes from a combination of Democrats and Republicans in the Senate? Does it have to go through McConnell, Boehner, Eric Cantor, et cetera?
Well, there has to be a compromise, and the compromise has to be, you know, I disagree with you on rates because I think rates ultimately hurt us. Reforming the tax code where the wealthy actually pay more would actually help us collect revenues and also stimulate the economy. And we shouldn't lose sight of that because we did that under Reagan with Tip O'Neill and several others. We actually accomplished some great things for our country where we had economic growth in excess of 4.8% for over 4 years. So we shouldn't lose sight of the fact. I don't care which way it comes. But I think the important thing is to protect all the things that are true. It is true we have a demographic problem and an entitlement problem. It is true some of the very wealthy are very well protected in terms of the tax code. We need to eliminate that. It is true there's going to come a point in time where we can't borrow any more money and interest rates are going to skyrocket. So we need to merge all three of those. We need to leave our hats in terms of our partisanship outside and come in and solve the problems for the country.
I agree with you in arithmetic. And Joe, that is the problem. We're talking demographics here, not Democrat versus Republican, but younger versus older. We're going to have so many older people depending on these programs compared to maybe 2 worker bees for every retiree bee. That's going to be tough for the kid who's working in their 20s, the young couple trying to pay enough payroll taxes to meet the needs of the living conditions and needs of a family in their 70s and 80s.
I think, Chris, we have some real opportunities here now because Obamacare is going to be the law of the land. And if we have universal health insurance, if everybody is covered, then you can raise the retirement age for Medicare. Then you could have a system where you know, you can go up to 70 years old if the Republicans cooperate and really force a system of healthcare exchanges, these healthcare superstores, where you have real competition and you can drive down the premiums that are charged to individuals and small businesses. I mean, we have a real opportunity here. This is a great moment, and you know, I congratulate the senator for you know, for the pioneering work that he's done on this issue in the past.
You know, we have to go, but Senator, I do want to congratulate you for voting for Simpson Bowles. You and people like Dick Durbin, who have tremendous respect for you, to stick your neck out and say something that a lot of politicians won't do, that this isn't perfect, but it's where we have to go. We have to solve this problem. Thank you so much for coming on. Senator Tom Coburn, who, again, my kids seem to love for some reason. Thank you very much for coming on. And Joe Klein of Time Magazine. Up next, can President Obama turn his voters into fighters? This